Hey everybody, I hope you had a great Memorial Day weekend. And after a day back at work, after the weekend's over, you're probably ready to plan your next vacation. And if you had a staycation this weekend like I did, and you planned just some local things to do at home, you might be planning a bigger event later on in the summer or toward Labor Day. If you're planning to go on a vacation to the beach, I would love to give you some great tips. I grew up in Florida, so I have a lot of hacks to share with you about going to the beach and making it a great day without a lot of mess, fuss, or tired, hangry people on your trip with you. So first of all, when you're planning your trip, make sure that you time it correctly. Either go early in the morning or late in the afternoon. Don't plan to stay all day long. Everyone gets tired when they're out in the sun for too long, and you'll also find that you're sunburnt, and it is not a good time to be that hot and sweaty for that many hours. Pack your car with only the things that the people on your team can carry. Sometimes people overpack for the beach and they end up lugging armloads of chairs and toys and these big hard case coolers. You don't need that much stuff to carry with you from the car to the beach. Only plan to carry what you and the people with you can carry in one load. You don't really know ahead of time always how far away you're going to end up parking unless you're going to be on a drivable beach like Daytona. And sometimes the places on the beach where your car can drive aren't the nicest places on the beach because there's cars driving across the beach. So make sure you take that into account. Another thing you want to pack, in addition to plenty of water for you to drink, you also want to bring an extra gallon of water. At the end of the day on the beach, the best thing that you can do before you get in your car is sit on the edge of the seat of the car and pour from that gallon of water over each person's feet while they're hanging off the edge of the outside of the car to rinse the last of the sand off their feet. That will keep your car clean, and it will save you a lot of cleanup time later on. It's very hard to get sand out of your car interior. So the less sand you bring home with you, the better. So bring that extra gallon or two of water for washing feet when you get back to the car. Also, you want to cover all the seats with fresh towels, not the ones you're going to dry off with because those will be sandy and wet and dirty. So bring some fresh towels to cover the seats, and that way people that aren't all the way dry can sit in your car without making a mess in your car. You can roll up those towels at the end of your day at the beach, and your car will be almost completely clean when you get home. It'll save you, when you're really tired from being in the sun all day, from having lots of extra work to do when you get home. And the next thing you want to do ahead of time is freeze your drinks. Those little juice boxes are great, especially the little slushy ones like the Capri Suns. You can put those in the freezer, and then by the time you get to the beach and you've been on the beach for half an hour to an hour, depending on how hot it is outside, they make awesome slushies for your kids and for you. So those are great things to have. Even bottles of water, if you freeze them halfway, then they stay nice and cold on the beach. You don't have to pack a lot of ice in your cooler because your drinks are all frozen. So that saves you one more thing to have to carry onto the beach. You want to bring more drinks than you think you're going to need too. One per person per hour to hour and a half that you're going to be on the beach. If you plan to be in the sun for 2 or 3 hours, that's really maximum time. You don't want to be on the beach for more than 3.5, 4 hours. That's just too long. So plan to bring that many drinks per person, and hopefully your kids are old enough to help you carry some of that stuff. And then also, before you go out on the beach, you want to make sure you apply sunscreen. Maybe even before you leave the house to drive to the beach, or leave the hotel to drive to the beach if you're driving to the beach, or if you manage to get a hotel room or a condo on the beach, which is fantastic. You want to make sure that you put that sunscreen on before you walk out. What many people don't realize is that waterproof sunscreen, if you spray it on and then go in the water, will wash right off. You have to give the waterproof sunscreen, the sweat-proof sunscreen too, a little time to set in before you go out and sweat it all off and wash it all off in the ocean. So it's not going to do you any good if it washes right off, and you'll end up like lobsters and everyone will know you're tourists. It's terrible. So make sure that you apply it before you go, and reapply it often. A lot of people who come from out of state and attend the beaches don't realize that you can't just apply sunscreen one time. You have to do it frequently, every couple of hours throughout the day, or if you're in the water, maybe even more often than that. So make sure you bring cover-ups too for later, but not just cover-ups. swimsuits are tricky little things, and especially for ladies, you want to make sure that you bring a full change of clothes. You don't want to just bring a cover-up. Even for guys, you want to bring a full change of clothes in case you want to go out to eat, or in case something happens and you have a flat tire or there's a fender bender. You do not want to be stuck in your wet, nasty clothes standing beside the road, or you don't want to be stranded where you can't attend that really great restaurant you just found because you don't have anything that you can wear. So bring a full change of clothes and bring your cover-ups. So another thing that you want to bring with you is shade. If you don't have something shady that you have enough arm space to carry with you, consider finding a beach that has a cabana or a covered chair that you can rent. I know they can seem like they're pricey and you're like, $20 to rent the chair with the shade. It actually can be well worth the money because you are in the shade when you want to be in the shade. You can be in the sun when you want to be in the sun, and that is one less thing you have to carry back to your car when you're tired. So it can be worth that extra $20 to rent that little shaded lawn chair on the side of the beach. Not every beach has them, so researching your beaches ahead of time can really make your day a wonderful day. Try to find some out-of-the-way spots. We happened to find a place in Bradenton which has like maybe 5 parking spaces for the public. It's not advertised, and it's near condos. So because it's near condos, it's usually only used by the people who are renting or owning the condos, and there's not a lot of foot traffic from other people. Those out-of-the-way little beaches, if you can manage to rent a condo for your vacation that's right on the beach, that's great. If not, try to find some out-of-the-way remote spots to go to, and that makes a much more peaceful day. And especially if you're bringing kids with you, you do want to research what the environment, what the kind of climate is going to be for your beaches. If you're bringing kids, you want to make sure it's going to be a family-friendly environment. So check ahead of time, especially during spring break times and holiday weekends. Beaches that allow alcohol on the beach can attract a certain kind of crowd. And those are the kinds of people, if the beach gets crowded, can end up getting into fights, cursing, nasty, irritable, because they're all drinking and they're bringing lots of alcohol onto the beach. So that might not be some place that's going to be comfortable for your kids. If you find a beach for your family that prohibits alcohol, it might actually end up being a more family-friendly environment. So research the beaches that tend to be less crowded or that prohibit alcohol, and that might make it for a much more peaceful time, whether you have kids or not. So also researching ahead of time, right before you go, like a day or so before you go, check the conditions on the beach. Check whether it's going to be windy and you're going to have riptide currents, because that will make a difference in how you swim and how far out you should go. People who come from out of state to Florida don't often know about the riptides, and there are tragedies that have happened because people have gone far out from shore and they didn't know how to swim in line with the riptide currents. So you need to research that ahead of time and know what to do if you get pulled under by a riptide. People can drown. So watch your children at all times when you're on the beach. Sometimes parents who aren't used to going to the beach think that their kids can just wander off and go play in the water and they can close their eyes and take a nap. That's very dangerous because there are all kinds of things that can happen with the water and with strangers being on the beach looking for children, unfortunately. So make sure you keep your eyes on your kids. One or the other of the people with you should always eyeball where your kids are at all times. Keep your babies in the shade too. Babies have very delicate skin, and there are sunscreens that are made for babies. Do apply those, but also make sure that you keep them in the shade and have them wear a hat as much as possible. Research shows that a lot of skin cancers begin with exposure to the sun in childhood. So watch for that. And also look ahead of time for those great local snack spots. We found this awesome place in Bradenton near the beaches that's called the Shake Pit. And it wasn't me that found it, it was my son's youth director. So when the youth group would go to the beach, they always stopped at the Shake Pit. So that's our spot too when we go to those beaches, to stop. And we love the Shake Pit. It's just this local dive. You only stand outside and sit on picnic tables when you get your shakes, but the shakes are amazing. So if you do end up going to the Bradenton area beaches, check out the Shake Pit. It's amazing. And restaurants on the beach can be the best places for local fresh seafood. Look ahead of time to find the restaurants where they allow you to come in casual attire, not your swimsuit. You'll want to have like at least a cover up, but they'll let you come and they'll let you sit out on tables outside on the deck and watch the sunset if you happen to be on the west coast of Florida or in California, and you can get a great gourmet level meal and still be able to dress casually and eat out right after you've been on the beach. So it's fantastic. So look for those places ahead of time so you know where you can go. Also, some other things that you want to look for and bring are your first aid kits. Bring vinegar or baking soda in case you get a jellyfish sting. And you might not know ahead of time whether there are jellyfish in the area of the ocean where you are swimming, because they tend to come in groups. There are certain beaches where they frequent occasionally. You might never know when you end up getting stung by a jellyfish. It's not a horrible thing. It just needs to be addressed. If you have something to take care of it, some tweezers to pull the stinger out, some baking soda to neutralize the sting, that will help take care of it. You also want to have some antiseptic and Band-Aids. Walking along the beach, you can occasionally step on a sharp shell or something like that. So just have those things handy and it'll be just fine and everybody will be taken care of. When you're in the ocean walking, which is a great way to experience the beach, you get your ankles cooled by the ocean water, you get just a little bit of the water on you, and you don't have to go underwater and get your hair wet, you know. But that's one of the best ways to experience the beach. But if you're out a little ways and your knees are under the water, you do want to do the stingray shuffle, we call it in Florida, where you shuffle your feet and stir up the sand, and that way ahead of your walk, if there's a stingray on the bottom of the ocean, it will go away and it won't sting you. But if you step with lifting your feet, you might accidentally step on the stingray, and its immediate reaction will be to whip the stinger around to get you off of it. So to avoid getting stung by a stingray, you just shuffle your feet and then you won't have to worry about that. So that's a tip for those who don't know about the stingray shuffle. Make sure you know things like that. Make sure that you are hydrating often, drinking plenty of water, and keep your electronics cool. Don't bring your phone and your e-readers and just leave them laying in the sun. Don't leave them on the seats of your car because A, they're going to get stolen. There are thieves that patrol parking lots where they think tourists will be. Beaches are one of those places. So don't leave your valuables in plain view. Don't leave them on your beach blanket and expect them to still be there when you get back from swimming in the ocean. Put things away and make sure that you bring an extra small soft-sided cooler so that your valuables, your electronics, don't get overheated while they're laying in the sun. You can bring one for your snacks and your food and another one for your electronics if you want to keep the germs of your electronics off of your food, if you want to do that. And keep the moisture off of your electronics as well. So enjoy the shore with sandcastles. I love building sandcastles. It's relaxing. And shells. It's a great way to educate your kids while you're at the beach. You can educate them about the different kinds of plant and sea life that they'll find on the beach where you are heading, and teach them about the different kinds of shellfish that live in those waters. Teach them about the tides and the climate and the way that the sand was made. Those are wonderful, great things that you can teach your kids. In Florida, we even have a historical site that happens to be Fort Soto on a beach. So there's a fort there, so that's another educational opportunity for kids. There's lots of wonderful enrichments you can do with your children. Some beaches even have tide pools, so the kids can go and see marine life in the tide pool. So that's a fun thing to do with your children. But on the way home, go through all those collectibles and make sure there's nothing alive. Because there's nothing that makes a trip longer than a dying shellfish in your car. When I was a kid, we were coming back from the Keys and ran out of gas just outside of Miami. We happened to have sponges and all kinds of sand dollars in the back of our minivan when we ran out of gas. It was 106 degrees outside that day. So we had cooking in the back of our van in the middle of summer, these nasty, horrific, pungent sponges and dying sand dollars. It was the most horrible smell, other than pig farm smell, than I've ever smelled in my life. And we were trapped in it for all the rest of the hours, the whole way home from Miami. So that was a horrible smell. Please don't do that to yourself and your family. Make sure there's nothing alive. Throw it back if it's alive. Speaking of alive, we have seagulls on the shore. Please do not feed them. They become a nuisance. They are like the rats of the sky. And if you feed them, They will come and throng you and swarm around your beach blanket and steal your food. They will also leave you some souvenirs, some white splishy souvenirs all over you that you probably don't want to take home either. Another good reason to have a change of clothes with you. So don't feed the seagulls. Another thing that's a good tip is to make use of the public shower stations. It's kind of a pre-shower before you wash off your feet. It gets the sand and the salt off of your body. So even if you don't feel sandy, it's good to rinse all that salt off so you don't get to feeling gritty as you dry off on the way home. So make sure you plan to go somewhere where you can have access to that, or plan, if you're going to one of those more remote locations that aren't as public, plan to bring some extra gallons of water just to kind of rinse your body off a little bit. Sunset walks are great on the western shores. It's one of the best times to go for a walk on the beach. But there are some shores on the west coast or on other coasts where you want to get off the beach by twilight, or you will end up finding yourself feeding the sand fleas. So when you go for a walk, sunset walk, make sure you're still within quick sprinting distance of your car, just in case the sand fleas come out. So that's just another tip. Another thing to bring with you, always pack your patience when you go on any trip, and that's in the traffic on the way to and from the beach. Don't expect to get there fast. Don't expect to leave fast. Everybody kind of wants to leave at the same time. Plan for that and expect it, and don't become impatient. If you become impatient and irritable, it ruins everybody's day. So please don't do that to your family. Plan to be patient, plan to be relaxed. Find a space on the beach with space if you can. Allow plenty of room around you. You don't have to be right on the water unless you have small children. Make sure you give basic rules to your kids and don't overreact if they bend them a little bit. Just be patient with them, remind them of the rules, set some simple consequences if they break the rules, but don't ruin everybody's day by a lot of yelling and arguing and screaming at each other. Set simple expectations for A, relaxation, and B, relationship building. If those are your two goals when you go on the beach and you set up all of your safety things and your cleanup things ahead of time, then you'll have a great time and you can enjoy the sand and the surf just like you're a local. So I hope that helps you plan a great trip to the beach this summer. It was great to see everybody, and I hope you had a happy Memorial Day and a happy post-Memorial Day week, and I'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.